Hey, Ron, good to see you. Hope things are well. I think this is the first time we've talked to you since Ryan Fitzpatrick joined the team. I think the big question right now from fans, do you view Ryan Fitzpatrick as your unquestioned starter going into 2021, or will there be a quarterback competition during training camp?
Well, he's going to come in as the number one, but there will be a competition. I mean, we want to play the best football player, obviously. It gives us the best opportunity to win. We feel very comfortable, very confident in the guys that we have. Ryan gives us a completely different type of football player, and we're excited about who we can become as a football team.
Ron, why do you think it's so important to have a true competition? I know you've said in the past your one regret or mistake, you call it, was anointing a quarterback too early last year. Is that part of your process there?
It is, but I do think, for the most part, competition does create the opportunity to have guys go out there and really try to put it all out on the line. As I said last year, one of the mistakes I made obviously was I didn't have the true competition. I felt going in, the idea was to give Dwayne as many reps as possible to get him ready to play. This time I know who we have as the starter, but he's going to go in and he's going to compete with everybody else. And like I said, I want to play the guy that's going to give us the best opportunity to win, the best opportunity to develop and grow as a football team.
Thanks, Ron.
All right.
Nikki.
Hi, Ron. Are you done adding to the quarterback's room?
Well, we'll see. Again, can't tell you how things are going to unfold once we get into the draft, and we're going to react to what's going to happen in front of us. Picking where we're picking, there's a lot of things can happen. We have targets, we have ideas, we have guys that we like, but that always changes just because of the fact that everybody has a choice, and so you just never know what's going to happen at that point. And like I said, we will react to what happens in front of us.
And were there things last year working remotely with Kyle that you liked and wanted to keep? Were there things that you wanted to change the next year? I mean, just from that setup, if things are possibly similar going into the draft and pre-draft evaluation, were there things that, you liked or wanted to change going into this year?
Well, hopefully we can do a lot of this work in person. Making sure we do the social distance thing, but at least be able to be in the same room and have conversations and watch people's reactions as we talk about these players going forward. That's one of the biggest disappointments as far as I'm concerned about doing things remotely, is you really don't get an opportunity to truly see what a person's thinking, how they really feel. And I think that's important. So I'm looking forward to, or at least I'm hoping that we can continue to slowly get out of this way of having to do things to run our life basically, and get back to something that's kind of normal. So I do hope we get that opportunity to do these meetings in person.
Hey Ron, it's John Kime. With Ryan Fitzpatrick, there are other quarterback options that were obviously out there. What was the big appeal to getting him?
Well, a veteran guy. A savvy veteran who's had a lot of success, who's worked with a lot of other quarterbacks, a lot of young quarterbacks, who's been in a lot of different systems. Also, just the fact that when you look at his numbers analytically, he's actually improved in his play the last couple of years too. So there's a lot of positive things about having this type of guy around, and I'm pretty excited. I really am. He's a guy. When I was in Carolina at one time, when we had to compete against him. You always sit there and go, God, there's something about this guy. And so it's going to be intriguing for us to see exactly how it unfolds and how it fits with us.
And how much does having a passer like him, plus the addition of Curtis Samuel and Adam Humphries, how does that change, diversify? How does it impact the offense?
Well, the biggest thing that's going to happen is when you add on, guys like Curtis and Adam, are guys that are savvy veterans, guys that are making names for themselves. With Curtis, the vertical attack, I think is going to be very much a compliment to Terry's game on the outside as well. Then you throw Adam into the mix, and Adam working underneath with the tight ends is going to be the other compliment that we'll have. And then with some of the things that we do in this offense, with what Scott Turner's plans, moving guys around. So we're not always going to be static in terms of where we line up. We're going to be, I want to say, multidimensional with the way we use players.
Thank you.
All righty.
Hey, Ron, Sam Fortier. I wonder, after you kind of built the front office, spent, the first part of the year doing the off season doing that. I wonder what it's been like to organize and mobilize and kind of, divvy up those responsibilities and get everybody, working the best way possible.
Well, I will say this, doing what we did in terms of being able to put together the front office as far as the personnel side of it, the football business side of it, I think is very good. I like with what each guy brings to the table. Martin and Marty complement each other very, very well. Marty's he's a road warrior. He likes to be on the road. He likes, being at the pro days, where when you watch and you talk to Martin, Martin is I think a little bit more of an office guy. Does a lot of his work off of the tape in terms of viewing players. He does go out. He does hit the pro days, but also having a guy, whether it's Martin or Marty, in the office that handles also the business side of football. That's, I think, has been very good. And then watching how Eric Stokes has really, grown in his position now as the personnel director, and watching Chris Polian and Tim Gribble work together. One is a pro and one is a college. That's been really good. I've been really pleased, and also the work we've gotten from our scouts. I think everybody's on the same page. Everybody understands, when we have these meetings, when we've gotten together with the top guys, with Marty and Martin and Eric and Tim and Chris, it's kind of neat because there's a lot of experience in those rooms. I mean, each one of those guys has over 20 years in this league. So, we got older, but I think we got a little more experience. And I like the fact that we have, this type of talent in the room.
Have you seen that experience? The things you were hoping to.
Yes.
How have you seen that?
Just listening to the conversations and talking about players. And then when you would listen, like we were talking about a specific linebacker, and having one guy talk about, this, that, and the other things he does well. Then the other guy goes, well, I was talking with this guy, and this is what we've heard, and this is what we need to look out for. So then you go back and I look on tape, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, there's exactly what they were talking about. And I'm sitting there going, wow, okay. Because I would have looked right past it without thinking about it. So you're getting guys that have a lot of contacts in the league. You're getting guys that have a lot of experience and understanding of players, of how players fit into schemes, how players fit into teams. I think that's invaluable. I don't think you can buy that. I don't think you can just show up one day and say, hey, I'm gonna do this. No, you've got to have lived it, and that's the good thing about having these types of guys around.
Thank you, Ron.
Yes.
Hey, Ron, it's JP Finley. I wanted to ask, last year you guys were kind of quiet early on in free agency and then made some really effective signings in that second wave. This year, really active early. How does that impact your plans for the second wave of free agency?
Well, what was interesting, JP, was, we took the approach as we were going to initially watch and see what happens. And when certain positions, didn't explode like we thought were going to happen. And again, one of the things that's really cool about this is, with Eric Stokes, constantly, his guys were constantly re-upping, updating who the free agents were that were still available, and then who was getting signed and what they're getting signed for. We could sit there and look at the money and say, well, you know what, this position isn't going bonkers. So we got into the wide receiver competition early because of that, because we were keeping tabs. Erickson and his guys were really paying attention to what was happening. So and then we looked at the defensive backs, the corners, the same thing. And so we got in, on Jackson. We got in on Samuel because these were guys that were high on our list that we didn't think we had a chance, but because we were monitoring it and these guys saw it, we decided to dive in. And lo and behold, we pulled a couple of guys that we thought initially, we didn't have a chance, but ended up because we were paying attention to it. And again, as I said, it was a great job by Eric and his people. As we talked about, the kind of the second wave when things started to happen, the Adam Humphries and the Darryl Roberts type guys were available. We felt we could start to fill some of those also positions in terms of getting the nickel, getting the slot receiver. So we did that. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a step back, continue our prep for the draft, but we're also gonna look at who's still out there. We've targeted a couple of positions that we still want to pay attention to and monitor. But we also know that some of those positions we can also fill as we go into the draft. So it has gotten us to slow down a little bit, but we're still monitoring who's out there and what the possibilities are.
And then speaking of the draft, with the massive amount of trades that have just happened in the last week, with the Niners going up, the Dolphins going back, and then going back up, and the Eagles going back, does that shift what you are looking at, or kind of what possibilities are out there for the Washington football team?
Well, it does in terms of the possibilities, but it's all speculation because you have no idea what they're going to do and why they made the moves they did. As I said earlier to Nikki's question, that we'll react to what happens in front of us. I mean, that's all we can really truly do. And so we're going to watch that. Is it going to change our thought process? Well, only obviously if the guys that we feel best suit us, they get taken. So we'll have to react again.
Thank you, Ron.
Cool. Hey, nice Washington Nationals hat too.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, I know they're getting ready to open up. That must be cool. You going out there?
I think it actually just got postponed. So I got to break off here and get back on the radio. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, go back to work. That's nice.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, JP.
All right. Well, it's nice to see JP doing some work, so that's a good thing. Ron, just curious, have there been any further talks with Brandon Scherf since you guys put the franchise tag on him, and how, if anything, has that situation changed after some signings in free agency?
Well, that situation hasn't changed. We've got Brandon signed right now. We'll see how things go as we go forward. We are most certainly interested, but again, we have to wait and see what happens. We haven't talked since he signed.
Okay. And part of this, trying to figure out what you guys may or may not do with regards to the offensive line, is trying to guess where Sadiq Charles fits into all this. Just wondering if you could give us an update of kind of just where he's at from his recovery, but also at this point, where do you most see him playing, tackle, guard, or is it really totally up in the air?
It's up in the air, to be honest. I know this. He has been here going through his rehab. I get a chance to look out the window and I do see him out there working hard, looking good. He looks really good to be direct about that. He's done a great job. Very happy for him. But we're excited. We'll see where he fits best for us. We know he's got the ability to play left side, right side, guard, or tackle. He's a young man that's got some dimension to his game. So we're pretty excited about having him back on the football field.
Thank you.
You touched on signing William Jackson. Once you guys lost Ronald Darby, what about William's game made it worth going to the top of the market and bringing him in for your defense?
Well, we started out wanting to try and keep our own, and unfortunately we weren't able to keep Ronald. But we also had William Jackson as one of the guys we really liked a lot. A lot of it has to do with his ability to take over a side, shut a side down. It's going to add to the things that we are currently doing and bring up some of the things that we want to do. He, I think, is really a tremendous corner who really has the skill set to say, hey, we want to put him on their best guy, or hey, we want to put him over here and roll away from him. I mean, it gives us that kind of flexibility. He's a very good man corner, and when he plays with his eyes in zone, he creates opportunities for himself. So this is a dynamic football player. We're very, very happy to have him.
And he's just the latest corner to discuss how you and Jack Del Rio seem to get the most out of guys at that position. Why do you specifically think that you have this like cornerback whisperer label almost. What about your scheme allows those guys to thrive?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and again, and you just watch the way Jack calls defenses. He tries to create opportunities to put guys in the best position to have success. But we also got to look at the players that are rushing the passer. Got to look at the guys that are playing underneath and the guys who are playing over the top. It's one of those things. I really believe that because of the way our guys started to come together and play as a unit on defense, I think we had success. And that to me is probably the most important thing, is that everybody's doing their job. Everybody's got a hand in this. You can have great corners, but if you don't have a pass rush, I'm not sure you're gonna have that kind of success. And it's vice versa, because if you've got the shutdown going, you give your pass rush an opportunity to get there.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, I just wanted to follow up on what Sam was asking about in terms of the front office collaboration. How did that play out with Fitzpatrick? Like, at what point of the process did Ryan's name come up when you were discussing free agents? And how did you kind of all reach that decision collectively that, okay, this is the guy?
Well, Ryan was part of the conversation from the beginning, and it's no secret. We tried to do a couple things early, and but always Ryan was always in that conversation. When the whole Stafford deal went and a couple other things happened, we felt we want to get a guy in here that has the experience, that can help us going forward and help us develop. Again, it's one of the things that I talked about last season, was that it's not just about having having a guy out there playing quarterback and trying to win, but also having a guy out there playing quarterback that helps everybody else develop. We're still in that process. One season does not say we've arrived. All one season says is that we're learning how to play and do things the right way. And I think one of the positive residuals out of last season, more so than anything else, is just the fact that our guys have been through it. They know what it's like. They know what it feels like. That's one of the benefits of playing a lot of young guys. But you play a lot of young guys with the right veterans in place, and you get an opportunity to develop and grow as a football team. And that, I think, is one of the benefits. And again, we had that last year because of Alex Smith running the offense for us down the stretch the way he did. We saw the development and growth of our football team, and that was very helpful for us as we go forward from here. And I think it was also very important to the growth and development of this football team.
Right. And when you took this job, you said it was going to be a kind of a multi-year thing. I guess when you're maybe mapping out on how that can go, are the steps you're taking in this free agency, are they like what you kind of imagined when you first took the job, or is it really just reacting to last season?
I think to me, it's all part of having taken the job. One thing that I'm really appreciative has been the support I've gotten from the owner. When we went into this free agency, we had a plan, and we had to change some things and adapt some things. And I called and explained what was happening and told him this is what I wanted to do. And he said, "Hey, good luck, go get it. I'm behind you." And that really, going forward, now I sit down with Martin and Marty, and I say, "Hey, this is where we are. This is what we've been given the latitude to do." And then talking with Rob Rogers about being able to structure contracts the way we've got them done. We were able to go out and get guys that we felt and we believe can help us. So I'm really appreciative of the support we've gotten from Mr. Snyder in terms of being able to put together what we've done so far. We still have, again, about 4 more weeks before we get into draft. We get to the draft, but I think we've done a good enough job to put ourselves in position that now, as we look at the draft, we're not necessarily pressed to have to, as much as we can do what we want to. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Off the field question for you. Now that you're vaccinated, what was the first thing you did? Is there anything you've done that you were excited about?
Yes. I once I got my second shot, I went back to California to see my mom and dad. It was a very neat thing to be able to do, because I hadn't seen them since my diagnosis, and hugged my mom. That was probably the best thing.
That's awesome. One more on football. In the lead up to last year's draft, you had talked about the benefit of kind of having the extra time to do the scouting and the legwork. Has that informed your process this year at all?
No, I've been able to pretty much do the same thing. I'm pretty excited about that. The one difference though, and it's honestly, it's concerning to me, is we didn't get a chance to go to the combine and we didn't get a chance to meet in person. I think that's important. I like to try and judge people from the first opportunity you get to meet, and preferably in person. Because when you're face to face, there's not a lot of you can't hide a lot of things, and that is probably the one disappointment I have right now, is that we weren't able to get together with any of these young men during the combine like we did last year. That's probably the biggest disappointment. The thing that's interesting though is at least we've been able to go or send people to the pro days, but yet you still technically are not supposed to interact with these prospects face to face.
Hey, Ron, good to see you. And by the way, congratulations on your SBJ award for diversity and inclusion. I'm happy you got a chance to see your mom and your dad. This is to piggyback off of Pete's question about William Jackson. You mentioned the fact that he will fit into some of the things that you guys already do and some things that you guys kind of want to do. And you mentioned the fact that he's a man corner. So my question is, do you guys, with him in tow, does this maybe allow you guys to play more man coverage moving forward in defense? Or is that something that you guys have an interest in doing next season?
Well, without getting too technical about it and telling everybody what we want to do, it gives us a little bit more opportunity to be diverse. We can change things. We don't have to be stuck on certain situations. And it's funny because I my first impression and watching him was that this is a pure man guy. But as I watched more tape and didn't see when they did play zone and the way he played it, especially when he played with vision, he's got his eyes back at the quarterback, but he's looking through the receiver at the same time. He knows how to put himself in position. So this, to me, like I said, this is pretty exciting because it is going to allow us to do some things that we've always talked about or we've always thought about doing in our discussions last year and now into this year.
And then the second question is, you alluded to the fact that there were some positions you felt like you could kind of wait until the draft. You didn't necessarily have to address it in free agency, but maybe some people will pop up. How do you determine what you guys feel is comfortable going towards the draft and getting that position filled versus maybe doing it in free agency? What is your thought process, or just, Marty Herney, Mayhew, like, how do you guys process what is the best in a situation like that?
Well, in talking with Martin and talking with Marty, the big thing we talk about is, okay, which of these positions do we feel are strongest in free agency and which of these positions we feel are strongest in the draft? And we feel pretty good about quite a few of the positions that we're looking at for both free agency and the draft. When we evaluate it next week is when we're going to start our draft readings. We'll really be able to talk about these things. And if we sit there and say, you know what, we have to grab, or we should, I shouldn't say have to, we should grab this position before the draft. So there's, again, to somebody, I can't remember who asked the question earlier, we may not be done in free agency, but a lot of that will come from our conversations in the next week and a half, starting on Monday, about, hey, when we walk away from this, we should grab a position player here and a position player there. And that even helps us even more going into the draft. So, to that question, we may not be done with free agency before the draft.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. It's good seeing you.
Nice to see you.
Finish with Les and Russell.
Hey, Ron. How challenging is what Fitzpatrick has done over his career, bouncing from team to team, having to pick up a new system right away and, be able to execute that? I would imagine that's a skill that not many guys could really master, right?
Well, I think it's really about the experience and the number of years in the league, because that's the one thing I've found about veteran guys. They can go from one team to another, one scheme to another, if they have the skill set more so than anything else. This is a guy that has a skill set. He's got an NFL arm. He's a good decision maker, and he's a very bright guy. So for him, picking up another system is not going to be that difficult, because he understands the nuances of the games because of his experience.
And how do you feel about the concept of the quarterback of the future? You need your quote unquote quarterback of the future. Is that a pressure to define that now in this year?
No. And I say that just because of the fact that if you put all the other pieces into place and now you start going forward, when that guy does show up, when that guy is in the right position, you can grab him. I went through it the other way. My first stint as a head coach in Carolina, we drafted the quarterback of the future for us in the first round. And he was, lo and behold, the immediate future. After the first week or first preseason game, I made him the permanent starter from that point on. And that was the quarterback of the future. At that point, we had not put all the other pieces around Cam Newton, and we finally got them all together in 2015. So I've always thought, wow, if you could do it the other way, where you put all the other pieces around and then go out and get your quarterback, man, that might be a pretty good situation too. A lot of teams did that. I've seen a lot of teams that have had things in place and then drafted their quarterback the next year. This could be one of these situations where we put all the other pieces in place, and a year or two from now, the right guy's there and we can make that move. But we'll see. I mean, again, you just never really know until you get there.
Thanks.
Hey, Ron, it's Chris Russell. Good afternoon. Since we last got a chance to talk to you, you guys lost KPL, and I know you brought in Mayo and brought back Jared Norris, but can you just speak overall to the where you're at the linebackers, at all three linebacker spots, and maybe if that's still a major priority or a concern or do you feel good about the positions?
I like the position we have right now in terms of the guys, but we would like to replace the KPL loss more so than anything else. Having said that, I do like what John Bostic brings to the table. I do like what Cole Holcomb, and again, last year, you guys know, I was critical early on, and then as the season progressed and you saw these guys start to come together and get it, you walk away feeling pretty good about their performance. Losing KPL like we did in free agency was a little disappointment. I would have loved to have seen him back for a second year, especially because of the growth we saw. The injury at the end of the year kind of, put him to the side a little bit. And so it's one of those things that as we go forward, do we have the depth? That's the thing that we're looking at. As I said, next week we start these conversations and we'll talk about where we are. And, that could be a position that we may grab a player or two before the draft as well.
And if I could just sneak this in, I don't believe you've been asked about the 17-game schedule now that that's been official and ratified. What kind of challenges does that put on your football team, especially being that it's a road game and it's against another first-place team?
Cool. I think that's great about competition. We'll get to compete against some of the best and see where we are. As far as a 17-game schedule, let's don't forget it's what they call the 17-3 now. So we have the 3 preseason games. To me, it's just an extra game added on. It's something that the league and the Player Association agreed on, and apparently the league and the Player Association think it's good for the players and the coaches and the teams. So it's we'll see how it goes.
Thanks,
it's just part of the game now.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Is that it? We're good.
Yeah.
Hey, well, unfortunately, the Nats game was canceled, so JP was on top of the news. But hopefully those guys will get their opportunity tomorrow and get their season started. So thank you guys and appreciate you.